I saw this question posted on a Facebook group the other day, and out of curiosity, I just started reading comments to see what people had to say. And good Lord, there was like a big thread of disappointment and rage that most people were sharing about these jobs. And the comments section quickly snowballed into people's rage for corporate chains, and many talked that how they were not in heaven working in clinical setting as well. So I really decided that I wanted to share how I feel about it. I wanted to shed some light on this topic. Really, I thought about it genuinely, that would I want to become a pharmacist again if I'm given the opportunity to do it all over? So here's what I think. Well, as many of you know, I'm a pharmacy manager at a chain pharmacy, and I've been in retail for almost, I want to say, 8 years now. I worked in a clinical setting for some time, and soon I realized that no, it's not for me. And mind you, this was like literally, I worked for I think like 3 or 4 months, and I realized that I'm interested in healthcare, but I don't want to deal with people's lives in my hands as it's in the hospital, right? And also I wanted the patient interaction. So working at the hospital, I had no patient interaction, and the only kind of interaction I would have was the interaction with doctors and nurses. Though the basic duties of preparing and dispensing medications are the same in both retail and hospital setting, but I think the intensity of the work is kind of higher in the hospital setting. And by that, what I mean is you have to prepare the IV medications and those heavy courses of treatments for patients that are hospitalized and probably under intensive care, which is, to me, really is very stressful, because making even a single mistake can sometimes result in trauma or irreversible damage for the patient. And I really didn't want to take that responsibility or stress. I mean, hats off to those who do it. I think it is very challenging, and I know this is not for me. So, but the retail pharmacists, on the other hand, you know, we're dispensing medications that can be handled by your customer. Plus, when you're consulting the patients about the possible interactions, side effects, and, you know, you're really kind of ensuring that they have everything that they need to treat their condition at home. And that kind of gives you a peace of mind that your patient is safe and is adherent. Although, yes, mistakes happen at pharmacy as well. And sometimes, you know, we mix up medications and stuff, which could be very scary and of course challenging, but it's not as dreadful as, you know, like a hospital mistake. This is why it's like totally comforting for me. And as a retail pharmacist, I face challenges at work all the time, but nothing like I would go home and lose my sleep over it, which, although there are still retail pharmacists who do feel that way, but to me, I am fine, because I know that possibly I didn't make any mistake that's gonna kill someone. I know that could be a little bit exaggerating, but I'm just sharing how I feel. Also, to me, retail is fairly a simple job that pays better in most areas. Yes, there is a stigma for sure, but you know, for a job that gets called like a glorified fast food, I want to say like getting paid 6 figures to do that is a pretty sweet deal. You form relationships with patients, and seeing them on regular basis is actually, they become more like family to you eventually, and you get to see all the ins and outs of your life, as in you get to see how their health was fine and then they went down the hill and then they're going up the hill again, and you make that disconnection. And actually, I want to recall this one not really an incident, but one really interaction with a customer of mine, that she's been with us for so many years, and she comes to the pharmacy for her and her husband's medication. And she used to be so happy, like she would bring us treats and candies all the time and be always so good to us. And then her husband passed away, and we literally saw her go downhill. She was so depressed. She would come in and would want to talk to me in private because she wanted to get recommendation on all these antidepressants and anxiety medications that her doctor was putting her on. And she told me how she was very agitated regardless of those medications, and her family was like telling her that she was gonna be like a drug addict or something. So she wanted me to kind of advise her and guide her towards what could be a better option for her in terms of controlling her depression and also not getting a medication which is habit forming. And then eventually, a couple months later, we saw how she kind of overcame that trauma. And then eventually, I think a year or so passed by, and she moved to a different city. And she was in tears when she was moving, although she was going to come back to our pharmacy because that other city wasn't that far away. But she was literally in tears, and she came in like the day before New Year, and she told us how much she appreciated us and how much she loved us. And literally hearing all that from her and hearing how we were able to make that change in her life, that difference in her life with that consultation and medication therapy management and all, she was so obliged towards it that to me, it was like the end of the year and was so emotional for me, because I was like, whatever stress I went through throughout the year in this pharmacy, this is the reward. I forget everything. I forgive everything. This is what I work for. So, it's a nice little story that I thought I share with you, because yes, retail it's gone, but this is really the reward for working in a retail. Another thing about retail is that you're more likely to have that good work-life balance. You get holidays off, and compared to the hospital setting where hospital never sleeps, right? You have to go in on Christmas, New Year's and all. But having said that, yes, in the beginning, I have worked on Christmas, I have worked on New Year's, I've worked on all these, national and public and religious holidays. But now, as I'm kind of gaining seniority in my role, I don't have to work on holidays unless I volunteer to do that. And that's with every job. Like in the beginning, you have to make some sacrifices to gain some benefits in future. And I'm always like super flexible about my schedule, and my scheduler kind of works very well with me because I support her in every single way that she needs. And so when I need her, she's always there for me. Like she gives me 3 weeks off twice a year, which is, not a lot of places offer that. And that's something that you're able to, afford at a retail setting and not in a hospital setting. Another thing I want to say is not every job is for everyone, because not everybody has the same concept of work-life balance. Our work ethics could be, different, because, something that's doable for me probably is not doable for someone else. Also, our temperament and our ability to handle stress is different. And I think retail pharmacy is fairly simple because I don't mind being on my feet for 8 to 12 hours a day. I have a very competitive mindset, which honestly, believe it or not, work best under pressure. I sometimes laugh about it that my efficiency of work is really directly related to the amount of pressure or work I have. So I'm just sharing my general feedback or my take on retail pharmacists. And overall, some of my other good peers that I've seen. I've seen retail pharmacists whine all day long. Some of my, I don't want to say, like some of my, yes, co-workers do whine about it all day, but experience that I'm sharing you is not just from me, but it's also from some of the best retail pharmacists that I have worked with and I have learned from, and I've totally gained my work ethics from them. So I use them as my mentor and I use them to judge how a retail pharmacy is. I don't use those as an example who come in to a retail pharmacy on day one and they're just not happy about it. If that's the case, honestly, walk out. This place is not for you then. Don't stay in a place which is traumatic for you. Don't stay at a place where you're not happy. Just go find something else, because something somewhere else is probably waiting for you and is best for you. Frankly speaking, no offense to anyone, a lot of these pharmacists who rant about hating their jobs, they don't want to work in this kind of environment where this is not for them. You know, they don't want to work in the environment where they're always on the go and they're being pulled in 4 different directions at a time. Honestly, that is retail. And for such people who don't like being pushed around that way, do yourself a favor and get out of this environment, because you're not made for this. Figure out what you like the best. Don't ruin it for others. There are a lot of negative messages out there about retail pharmacists. I have read comments on Facebook and other forums that literally warn students to avoid retail. And you know, I often tend to take a lot of this negativity with a grain of salt, and I feel that those forums and those comments are just a venting mechanism, and frankly I find that some of it is quite funny. As for a retail career, my own perspective is that not all the retail settings are created equal. There are some retail settings that, yes, I would advise getting out of them ASAP, because pharmacists working in such atmospheres need to start doing, you know, something serious about their job. They need to do something about changing that, you know, work environment. Don't work in that retail environment that's not healthy. Yes, there are some retail environments like that, but you have to do something about either changing them or just get out of there, right? But not all retails are like that. And see, another reason why I like retail is that as a pharmacist, as a retail pharmacist, yes, we are the gatekeepers of the medications, but we are also educators. Each and every prescription that we fill has a potential to either help or harm a patient. And so if we as a pharmacist don't feel that our environment is, you know, providing us with those necessary tools in order to perform our duties in a safe and acceptable and clinical manner, then we need to evaluate how we got there. Here's a big thing. Frankly speaking, every single profession has its naysayers and complainers. And in my opinion, it's better to spend your energy by looking at what you did to get yourself in an uncomfortable situation, and what can you do to get out of it. When I took over the pharmacy manager position in my current store, every single person I know in terms of, you know, colleagues and professionals, they stopped me from taking over that position. And they said that, oh, I'm gonna regret my decision because the pharmacy was put on probation, and it was one of the busiest pharmacy in Northern California. The workflow was poor and the customers would like literally hate us. They would hate our guts. And the staff's morale was so low that everybody hated their job. At one point, I almost thought that, what did I get myself into? But then I literally kind of took a step back and evaluated the whole situation and, you know, really thought about what's happening, what could be done. And it took me almost a year of tireless efforts and constant coaching to change the work environment from being stressful and depressing to an environment where now myself and my team, we look forward to work together every single day. And yes, I totally love my job. I still have good and bad days at work. But that's the aspect of every job. But in general, you know, I love my patients, well, most of them, and I love my techs, and I also like kind of love building a team of great pharmacists. And I love developing practices to maximize our efficiency. And I also love the business side of the pharmacy. Honestly, this is a bitter truth, but this is true that in the time and world we live in, healthcare has become a profitable business, and which there is nothing wrong in being profitable along with providing patient care. That's a win-win for everybody, right? Because then this is not only providing patient care, but it's also providing salaries and benefits to all those people who are working there. The patient care is getting harder and harder, but that's the name of the game at the end of the day. You have to find a balance, and that's everywhere. Nothing is perfect, no job is perfect. The pharmacy I manage is literally like my baby. I do everything in my power to make sure it's compliant, it's well managed, and the patients are taken care of. And most of the regular patients that I see over and over, I've formed like a good connection with them. They're like family. I see their pain as a pharmacist, and I offer them all the professional help that I can in terms of medications and insurance needs. And that can get stressful at times, but then, you know, I see happiness and gratitude. That's very rewarding, that I'm, like I mentioned earlier. And if you ask me, I think everyone should work in retail once in their career, because the amount of exposure and experience you get from it. I mean, if you survive retail, you can survive everywhere, because when you're not customer, rather you're on the other side of the counter, you're introduced to multiple personalities beyond your own, your families and your friends. Therefore, it really helps you to kind of view people and business from a new perspective. Also, I want to say that working in retail introduces you to consumer behavior. You meet nice, friendly people, but you also meet very grouchy, upset, and rude ones. And these experiences can help you better respond to real life situations as well. Another thing is that working retail introduces you to more than just patient care and service scenarios. You also, you know, learn the business and marketing side of it. You learn how to do inventory management. You learn numericals, logistic challenges, and much more. You just may surprise yourself at what you find most enjoyable and least desirable, where your strengths excel, where your weaknesses are, and that would actually help you better decide what path you want to take in your career. You know, it's really important in your career to keep an open mind. Don't let what you see in pharmacy be the limits for your career. If you have an interest in administration, don't limit yourself to only what you see. Be open, consider non-pharmacy jobs as well. Be curious, because you never know, like, not just retail, maybe pharmacy isn't just for you, right? Like for me, my plan at first was to go to medical school and become a medical doctor, which I deviated from really quick. And then I went to pharmacy school, and my plan was to work as a clinical pharmacist at hospital. But again, there was another deviation, and I came to US and decided to work in retail, and I liked it. And after that, then my plan was to become a pharmacy manager at retail, which I've been for quite some time now. And I realized how much I love it. I learned that managing people, leading by example, and coaching, these are my strengths. So I started finding ways of doing things beyond the four walls of the pharmacy. And that's when I started extending my help to kind of neighboring pharmacies, started training newly hired pharmacists and pharmacy managers. And I also started my YouTube channel, which you guys are aware. This platform gave me an opportunity to kind of leverage my coaching and teaching skills for all of you guys. And I love talking not just about health, pharmacy, and beauty topics, but I also love shedding light on the inside of insights and perspectives of pharmacy profession. In retail pharmacy, some pharmacists tend to be bothered by the fact that they have to work under the retail store manager and district manager, which sometimes are not even the pharmacist. I know that's very how do I say it? It's very it's like a gray area and it's very controversial, but it doesn't bother me because they're not really affecting my clinical judgment as a pharmacist. I'm still making my own individual judgments and I'm making sure my pharmacy is compliant. Yes, they do assist me with their experience, which, you should take all critics and you should take all the advices with open arms. And secondly, I do get feedback from them in terms of, business perspective, like in terms of metrics, in terms of beating the company expectations and goals, because at the end of the day, they're running a business, right? Which is feeding all of us, all the employees, right? And feedback in terms of people management, totally get it from somebody who has better managing experience than you. So don't take that as a negative thing. If you're getting a feedback from them which will help improve your workflow, definitely take it. Now, do I implement all of those feedbacks that I get from everyone? No. If it doesn't comply with my work ethics, or if it's not in compliance with the law, then yes, I don't. I'm being totally honest. If some of those people are watching me, sorry. But anyways, in general, I think anyone with a passion for pharmacy should still pursue it, but do so in a way that limits your risks and maximizes your opportunities. Can you have a great and satisfying retail pharmacy career? Sure, you can. Many have done it and are still doing it today. And I was actually answering some of the questions in my DM on Instagram the other day, and I saw somebody ask me that what is the hardest lesson I had to learn as a retail pharmacist. And I thought I shared the answer with you guys as well to help you out. I hate to admit this, but I'm a little bit of a control freak because of which I try to do everything all by myself. And I don't delegate tasks much. But I have learned this over years that delegating tasks is critical, not just for your business and professional success, but it also helps in the development of your team. And now, after I've started delegating tasks, I do much better because now I'm not as stressful. Now my team is providing me the support that I need, just so I'm not going crazy all the time. And if I were to give advice to my fellow new pharmacists, I would say that get understanding of all the technical work. You've already gained clinical knowledge in the pharmacy school, so now it's super important that you understand all the technical work that goes on in the pharmacy, from insurance to phone calls to rebills, coupons, ordering medication inventory, training your technicians and customer communication, like every single thing. You should know every single thing and should be fully self-sufficient, that you can still function efficiently and properly in the absence of any technician or help. But that being said, you have to rely and depend on your technicians a lot. You have to be humble. Don't think that just because you're a pharmacist, you can't help customers look up for a product at the dental aisle, or help customers at the counter, or help technicians do their basic tasks, because technicians are your lifelines. They are the backbone of the pharmacist. So treat them with respect they deserve. Technicians can do a lot for you. If you have trained them right, and if you have good, working relation with them, then you would be surprised at how much they can do for you, how much of your stress they can handle, and that would give you some time to more focused on the clinical needs of the patient. Just overall, be humble, be a good listener, take criticism well, be proactive, and I know if and see if it was easy, then they wouldn't call it a job, right? And lastly, as an ending note, I want to say that remember, you don't want to settle for any job that you don't like. Also, don't imagine that any job is perfect. Own your career and you'll be fine. Alright, so I hope this video is an inspiration for you. It did give you a little pick-me-up in your career and help you kind of better make any decision. Do give me your feedback on your experience as a retail pharmacist or a retail technician. And I do look forward to hearing all of that. And I'll see you next time with another great video. Until then, take care. Bye! Hey guys, if you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and remember to subscribe to stay up to date on new weekly videos.